Alright, so today we're going to look at the skeleton, and there we go. And what we're doing essentially is we're identifying the role that the skeleton is going to play in keeping them upright and maintaining protecting the vital organs. Now, let's move on. So, what should you do by the end of this? We're going to start including the outcomes so you know what you need to be able to do and understand by the end of each video. So first you want to identify the major organisational components of the skeleton, of the skeletal system, that's how that's said, and there are two of those, and their roles. We're going to get to that in a second. You're also going to identify components of bone and composition of bone tissue. Now it's important to remember bone is a living tissue. Okay, it's not a dead system that's built and then gets left alone. Alright, and also finally we're going to work out how bones absorb shocks. Now, it seems obvious that that's an important part of it, but I'd bet that a lot of people haven't sat there and thought about how that happens. Okay, so the first of the two organisational components is the axial skeleton, and you can see we've got a diagram of it right here. Now, so there's the axial skeleton, that's the main centre here that runs down the axis of the body, and then there's the appendicular skeleton, which will deal with the appendages, and we'll get to that in a minute. So basically the axial, again, is the centre column of the body, so the head and the trunk of an organism, and it's not just humans, it's all mammals or even vertebrates. So in humans there are 80 bones out of the total 206. There are 80 bones, and these are broken up into 8 different sections. So you've got the skull, the ossicles, which are the inner ear, the hyoid bone, which is, you can see here, it's also known as the mandible. There's the rib cage and the sternum as well, and the vertebral column, so what you've thought of as your backbone. What does it do? Now, it's got two roles. One is to protect your internal organs. Now, I'm going to put up a video clip of an MMA guy called Baz Rutten, and you'll see the damage that can happen without or with this protecting the vital organs and the so it's essential to protecting, particularly the brain, the heart and lungs, spleen, and all of these things, that without it you essentially die. The other thing it does is it allows you to walk upright. Now, or even just, so it allows you to walk upright. Now, in tetrapod creatures, that's creatures that walk on 4 legs, it allows them to support their main mass in their undercarriage. But for us, it allows us to walk upright, and you can actually, the coccyx here, which is this area down here, for a long time was considered or tailbone was considered a vestigial organ, but it turns out that they're actually, it's an anchor point for a lot of muscles that give us stability when we walk or run, and the faster you're going, the more stable it is. The appendicular skeleton. So this is all of the appendages. It has 126 bones, and there are 6 regions. So you've got the pectoral girdle, that's the shoulder area, and so then you have the arms and forearms. Okay, there's another 6 bones. You've got the hands. Now there are more bones, not as much bone, but more individual bones in your hands than anywhere else. The feet come very close, obviously. Pelvis and thighs and legs. So you can see that these are all things which hang off the main vertical column of the body. And then you've got the feet and ankles. Now, so that's where we're at there. Alright, so what does the appendicular skeleton do? The appendicular skeleton, it supports the appendages. So it helps us run around. It absorbs shock, and this next one's quite important. It's the largest producer of blood cells in marrow. It also is the largest store of minerals like calcium and phosphorus. All bones store calcium and phosphorus, but this one is the largest store of it, and that's due to the length of the bones, and just the mass of the bones. Alright, so what is a bone made of? Well, you have the diaphysis, that's the shaft, and we're talking long bones here. I mean, all bones are built like this, but long bones are the ones where it's easiest to see it. And you've got the epiphysis, these are the ends, okay, so the epiphysis on the end, and the diaphysis in the middle. So you've got cancellous bone over here, and that is the red marrow-rich bone. And then you've got the yellow marrow cavity, and that's where your immune system, that's where all your white blood cells are made, and blood cells in general. Now, you've got the compact bone along the line here, and that's the hard part. That's the bit that gives your bone strength. And at the end, you have cartilage. Now, this is vital, but we'll get into joints in a little bit. So, what's it made of? Well, matrix is what we're mostly going to be interested in. The matrix is the tissue that makes up the bone. Okay, so you've got organic and inorganic. The inorganic stuff is calcium and phosphorus. Now, we're going to do an experiment later on where we remove that from the body, or from the bones, and we'll see what effect that has. Because then we get into what you've got left. You've got proteins, polymers, such as collagen. You've also got your mucopolysaccharides. Don't worry about those too much, we're not going to stress those, but the collagen we will worry about. The collagen is a polymer, very long polymer, and it is a rubbery polymer. It's very flexible. So you have that combined with the calcium, the mineralized bones, the calcium, and that's what causes bones to be so tough, those two put together. And that's what it looks like. And you can see here's the yellow marrow, and here's the what's called the cancellous bone up the end here. So that's where all the white blood cells are made. And yeah. Now, here we can see collagen fibers. You can see what I'm talking about. And these boxes represent a complex. So a protein that's got something joined into it. In this case, it's a calcium or phosphate or magnesium. And that's what gives us the strength of the matrix of the bone. Okay. Now, different parts of the bone, the strength, it differs because of their structure. Okay, so the spongy part of the bone, the cancellous part of the bone at the ends, is also surrounded by cartilage. Now, cartilage absorbs a lot of shock, as does the cancellous tissue. Now, it's more rigid than cartilage, but a lot less rigid. Sorry, a lot less rigid than the compact bone. Okay, so it's that spectrum. So it absorbs greater shock. So the epiphysis absorbs greater shock than the diaphysis. They're tough ones to say. I get my mush mouth on. So shock absorbance is greatest at cartilage, then in the epiphysis, which is the cancellous tissue, and least in the diaphysis, which is more rigid. So the ends of the bones are much more able to absorb shock than the straighter long section of bone. Alright, so that's it. I think the next one's a pretty long one, so good luck, enjoy, and stay.